The streets in Minneapolis are quiet and empty, but it doesn't have anything to do with the snowy winter weather. Even inside in this shopping mall, customers are nowhere to be seen.
Recently, business owners here have said that the ICE presence in town has scared away their customers. A lot of employees don't want to come to work. Some vendors don't even bother opening their shop because they don't expect any customers. People who used to have 15 to 20 customers coming in an hour say now they're lucky to have just one. Others are struggling to make rent, having to pull together funds.
Immigrants, but also US citizens from minorities, are afraid of meeting the same fate as hundreds of others who have been arrested by immigration officers in recent months. The fatal shooting of Renee Good by an ICE agent in early January further increased tension and fear in the population.
So here in Minnesota, I am a chef, if you didn't know. All the restaurant people are literally carting around their employees like this is the Holocaust. We are picking up our employees to and from work. We are also escorting them. We are keeping the doors locked so that ICE cannot enter and cause problems to our business. This is affecting the economy here in Minneapolis. Not only just restaurants, but lots of small businesses have had to shut their doors. I've seen 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So many businesses of people that I know have shut down, and places that people love in the community because of this disruption from the federal government. Where's the support from the government for all the economy failing right now? Where's the support for us as the people to just exist and still pay our bills and stuff? They want to turn Minneapolis into a game. Well, it is now a game. And there's a lot more players on the board in 2000.
Hello, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening from wherever you're watching. Welcome back to Mukami Reacts. If it's your first time, please subscribe. If you've already subscribed, thank you so much for your support. Let's watch the video and stay with me till the end.
Everybody was dreaming to open business this small, but not anymore. It's very slow. We're not making any money. If this problem continues, I don't think we can have our businesses. I live South Minneapolis. If you walk around, you think nobody lives the area. I think ICE is here to destroy it, the Minneapolis, harassing people, closing our businesses. We have to come out and fight our rights. I was volunteering last 3 days to explain in my community and tell them how important it is to do assembly, to do the protesting. ICE, we will see you.
Update on the general strike, which is taking place around the United States today. Small businesses are shutting down. People are calling out of work and planning protests and rallies in general to protest the ongoing immigrations and customs enforcement actions, which have been taking place in Minneapolis, Minnesota, resulting in the deaths of several protesters there, as well as in other cities and states around the nation. Organizers here in New York City called for volunteers to meet at Foley Square this morning at 9 a.m. At 10, they were still out there shoveling and removing ice, pun intended, from the square where people are going to be gathering later this afternoon for the strike, rally, and march. Another rally in support of the anti-ICE general strike today is going to be taking place outside of Columbia University at Broadway and 116th this afternoon. Those strikers plan to add their voices to the general call for a shutdown today to protest the ongoing ICE actions. Hundreds of small businesses around the United States have joined the call for a strike, shutting down or donating all or part of their proceeds made from today to strike funds or organizations that support immigrants here in the United States. We have reports of businesses shut down everywhere from Los Angeles to, of course, Minneapolis, to here in New York City, to Grand Rapids, and also Detroit, Michigan. For those who aren't able or aren't willing to join in the strike today, organizers say that there are still ways that you can participate, including by donating money to a bail fund or an organization that supports strikers or immigrants here in the United States. You can also wear clothing that supports the strike or post on social media. And lastly, if you can't avoid shopping today, organizers are encouraging folks to shop at small businesses or pay with cash to avoid using your credit card, because those credit card fees go straight to big credit card companies who ultimately profit from these federal policies. I'll be heading down to Foley Square at around 4 p.m. to check out the strike and rally, and I'll get you a sense of what things look like here on the ground in New York City.
The ICE activity is also impacting some businesses. Multiple restaurants have closed, either temporarily or for the foreseeable future. Today, El Burrito Mercado posted this message announcing their closure, saying, quote, "Stay safe, amigos. We stand with you." On that same street on St. Paul's West Side, several other restaurants closed as well. Restaurant owners say they're concerned about the safety of their employees and their customers. Carol Evans spoke to one man that says he drove an hour to go to Mercado.
I'm craving it. I'm hungry still. And I'm looking like I went to not this store, but the other one. Then you came around the corner, and I'm like, what's going on around here? I noticed there wasn't no cars parked out here. I'm like, man, that's pretty lucky, because usually this place is packed at lunchtime.
Well, this comes during a difficult month. January is historically one of the slowest months for restaurants following the holidays.
Why was everything closed in Minnesota today? Let's dive in. About 300 businesses shut their doors on Friday as part of a nationwide general strike in solidarity with Minnesota against ICE's brutal occupation. The general strike was called by religious leaders, labor unions, and movement organizations like the Democratic Socialists of America. The day saw 100 clergy members arrested at the Minneapolis airport, but that did not deter workers. Thousands came out later that day to shut down downtown Minneapolis. Remember, the best way to stop ICE is to target their corporate collaborators and hurt their wallets, and that's exactly what happened in Minneapolis today. This is the first baby step in that direction, echoing a historic legacy of general strikes in Philly, St. Louis, New Orleans, Seattle, and across the country, across the 19th and 20th centuries.
We have some big news right now. A massive economic strike in Minnesota has begun, the largest economic strike in recent memory. No work, no school, no shopping. That is what the economic strike is called, and it's in protest of what ICE is doing on the streets of Minnesota. And here's the thing, this one could actually work because dozens of businesses have announced that they will be closing down their doors today. They will continue to pay their employees who were supposed to work today, but they're going to close down their doors in participation of this economic strike. There's going to be a massive rally, a massive march in Minneapolis later this afternoon. The labor unions across Minnesota have endorsed the strike as well. There's been a lot of talk about, well, how do you protest? What do you do next if you don't agree with something? And a lot of people were like, well, let's do a general strike. This is the first step, and it's happening right now today in Minnesota. It's highly organized. Kids aren't going to school, businesses aren't opening, and parents aren't shopping. I'll continue to provide you updates. Spread the word. Follow for more.
The people of Minnesota have gone on strike in protest of what ICE is doing to their state. This is the biggest economic protest in recent history. And businesses are shutting down as a result, but still paying their employees. The Trump administration has massively underestimated the people of Minnesota. In fact,
Carmel is shutting down. Every single business we went and asked them, are you gonna protest? Are you aware of what's happening? And they say yes. We gather in meetings, we put in flyers all over Minnesota. We don't tolerate violence. We don't tolerate discrimination. We don't tolerate grabbing people from their own house. That's why they're at the street, to put fear in our hearts so they can isolate us. I know we have a good people, and we have a unity, and we have unions. We are reaching out with each other. We're marching on the 23rd to make a history. Find the strength to show up.
Chaos from enforcement reached school campuses. Immigration raids in Minneapolis led to daily school closures and virtual learning options due to safety concerns. How far does enforcement go before disrupting kids' lives?
We have some big news right now. A massive economic strike in Minnesota has begun, the largest economic strike in recent memory. No work, no school, no shopping. That is what the economic strike is called, and it's in protest of what ICE is doing on the streets of Minnesota. And here's the thing, this one could actually work because dozens of businesses have announced that they will be closing down their doors today. They will continue to pay their employees who were supposed to work today, but they're going to close down their doors in participation of this economic strike. There's going to be a massive rally, a massive march in Minneapolis later this afternoon. The labor unions across Minnesota have endorsed the strike as well. There's been a lot of talk about protest. What do you do next? are like, well, let's do a general strike. This is the first step, and it's happening right now today in Minnesota. It's highly organized. Kids aren't going to school, businesses aren't opening, and parents aren't yelling. I'll continue to provide you updates. Spread the word. Follow for more.
So if you didn't know, ICE has completely taken over Minnesota and is terrorizing this community. Schools are shutting down, businesses are shutting down, especially in the immigrant neighborhoods. I live in Uptown, and this is where I go to get my hair cut. And the guy who cuts my hair, Dylan, is from Ecuador. And last time I got my hair cut, he always asks me when I walk in, "How are you doing, sir?" And I said, "I'm doing good. How are you?" And could tell his energy was completely drained. And he said, I have no clients because they're scared to leave their houses or apartments because of ICE. He's normally a super, super positive guy, and I could tell that, he wasn't telling me the full extent of it and how much this was affecting him and his business. So I wanted to help. So for the next 2 weeks, because I'm going to go in and get my hair cut probably in 2 weeks, anything that we sell on our website, all the proceeds are going to be donated to him. He is the nicest guy. When I go in there, he talks about Ecuador, the food, the community, the traditions, and, teaches me about it. He also takes English classes when he's not working. And he's just such a hard worker trying to make ends meet right now. Not only is he a nice guy, but he has great haircuts. He cuts all types of hair. So if you don't want to buy anything from our website, totally fine. But I would highly, highly encourage you to go and support him and get your haircut. So if you want to go get your haircut by him, this is their phone number, location. There's a lot of openings because, like he said, no one is leaving their house to go get haircuts right now because they're scared of ICE. So if you're comfortable going to get your haircut, please consider going to him and supporting him. I can't wait to go get my haircut, chop it up with him, and then at the end, let him know that we have a little surprise for him. And that will be everything that we raised is going to be donated to him. So appreciate all your help. Minnesota, stay strong. Love y'all.
The people of Minnesota have gone on strike in protest of what ICE is doing to their state. This is the biggest economic protest in recent history. And businesses are shutting down as a result, but still paying their employees. The Trump administration has massively underestimated the people of Minnesota. In fact, it's about negative 45 degrees there with the wind chill, and there are thousands and thousands of people out protesting. This is what it looks like not to accept this. This is what it looks like to actually fight back. Having a giant economic protest is a big deal. The people of Minnesota are making their voices heard. And they are not allowing these degenerate ICE agents to wreak as much havoc in their community. They are standing up to it. And we might all need to take a lesson and pay attention to what they're doing. The people of Minnesota have gone on strike in protest of what ICE is doing to their state. This is the big...
Hundreds of businesses have closed today in Minnesota to protest Trump's mass ICE raids. So organizers are calling the mass economic blackout a day of truth and freedom. And the strike has asked for no work, no school, and no shopping. In addition to this, the strikers have 4 major demands. Number 1, that ICE and other immigration agencies leave Minnesota immediately. 2, legal accountability for the officer who killed Renee Nicole Good. 3, no more federal funding for ICE and an investigation into ICE's human and constitutional violations. And 4, for Minnesota companies to become Fourth Amendment businesses, which means they will refuse ICE entry and stop any economic activity with ICE. So this strike comes as Minneapolis has seen around 3,000 arrests, at least 2 shootings, and at least 4 children being detained by ICE. And the economic blackout isn't the only part of the general strike either, but massive crowds turned out for the March Against ICE in downtown Minneapolis. It says a lot about people's resolve when they turn out to march against ICE in negative 20-degree weather.
Hundreds of businesses were closed down during the protest, from small businesses, large businesses, during the protests against the ICE in Minneapolis, Minnesota. And how did this affect the economy? How did this affect the people? How are the people who owns the businesses affected during the shutdown? How is the country affected? It was a complete shutdown. The people were protesting in masses. Over 20,000 people, over thousands people were protesting against the ICE. This means that no revenue was generated during that time because no business activity was going down. From the restaurants, the barber shops, the salon, the spa, the market, online shopping, food. There was no business activity that was going down. What does this mean? There was a ripple effect beyond the closure. Not only were the business owner affected, but also the people who were employed, who were affected by the shutdown. This means if you're working in a company and there was a complete shutdown, you and your family, like there's a ripple effect. You're affected from one person to another. Not one person is affected. And this means that there was no revenue that was generated. There was no income that was coming into the business, or there was no income that was generated to the government. And this has lost their revenue. People have been in losses. They have lost their property, like they have lost their stocks, especially those that are working in restaurants. Because you expect, like for example, in a restaurant business, you expect people to come daily. And when there's a complete shutdown, means that there is no activity that is going down in that restaurant. This means that you're going to have losses. Your food is going to be spoiled. There is no revenue. There is no activity that is going to take place in that day. But again, this was done in solidarity for the people, for the Somalis in Minneapolis and Minnesota. The business owners lost income, they lost revenue, there was instability during the shutdown. No, the income, you couldn't predict the income. Businesses had to shut down, even for those that were not willing to close down during the protest. This means that less people were coming outside for shopping because of fear of the immigration. They feared the ICE. So less people came outside, less people went for shopping, less or even none. I hear that the people had to do online shopping. They were not going outside. The cafes and the indie stores were completely shut down. And this meant that there was no commercial activity that was going on. The country also lost some income. If people are working, this means that there is a generation of taxes are paid. There is a generation, the incomes are generated, and the government also benefits from this. So when there's a complete shutdown from over hundreds of businesses, this means that there's a loss, and not for only Somali business owner, not for large business owner, but for everyone. Like it's a circle. So these were the effects on the economy during the total shutdown of businesses. And the farmers, those people that work in the farm, their crops were really destroyed because people are not working. People are not working, and that meant that no activity was really going on. If it's crop farming, your products are going to be destroyed in the farm. If they are perishable goods, For example, the flower stores. This means that that day, the small business owner incurred a very huge loss. And in as much as we are talking about the protest, the law enforcement against the Somalis, let's look at it this way. What is the effect? What were the effects of the shutdown on businesses, on the economy, on or even on individuals? Thank you so much for staying with me. I'd love to know your views in the comment section, and until next time, have a good one.